never said a word. It's all on account of something that you heard. So don't when she left, I'd be running around and cry, but I'd scrape around my door for you. I bid her goodbye. Too long, you waited too long to come home. Now your daddy can't use you no more. Too long, you don't belong here anymore. So stop knocking on my door. Now you left me, sweet mama, for no good reason at all. And now there's another you kicking in your stall. Too long, you waited too long to come home. Now your daddy can't use you no more. Please. That's long enough. You just heard me play my version of Too Long, a Charlie McCoy composition, and also made famous by the Mississippi Sheiks. And my version leans more to the one of the Mississippi Sheiks. And Charlie McCoy's version is mainly based on mandolin playing. He was mainly a mandolin player. And he recorded a couple times even, I think. Anyway, it's in the key of C and I'm in standard tuning. And I tapped out the whole thing with solos and all lyrics written under the tab, so therefore ease of learning. And if you're interested in the tab, please do open the video description. I've put the original versions also there. I wanted to arrange this for a long time, but never really thought about it, doing it, until I read a thread on the Winnie Campbell forum, and John Miller laid out the progression, which is typical pop blues progression. And the Mississippi Sheiks use a few, well, wrong chords, you could say, although they work. You're never going to say, hey, he's playing the wrong chord there. But I do it more in the, let's say, the progression Charlie McCoy used. The more correct timpanelli progression. Anyway, although in the solo I cheated a few bars in C, should have been longer, but it sounded good this way. Anyway, let's start with the introduction. So we start with a C chord, walking into our chord again, and now we're changing so that D is already in the D7 for just 1.5 beat, and then we go to a G7, that's your D7 moved up, and the index plays the fourth string 5th fret. Also for 1 beat, then a C6. I found it easy to do that with the 3rd finger, I don't know why. Maybe then the jump to the other chord is a bit less big. if you do that with the index. So just for 2 beats, well, 2.5 beats, and then open and do the A7. Going to the first fret, first string there. Sliding into our D7, open, G, so that's it for the introduction. And the verse, well, I use the boogie figure that Reverend Gary Davies plays in a song called, it's an extremely long instrumental called Walking Dog Blues. And so on. He plays that for, well, not hours, but I think 15 verses. All kinds of variations, very interesting. And a real library of licks. And so I used the boogie figure. I used that in other songs as well previously. So let's play it not too fast. Without vocals, it doesn't make much sense. Anyway, I'm starting to sing on the second half of the last beat of the 8th measure. My baby said, my baby, she left me. She never said a word. It was on the count of something that she heard. Now in that G7 I do some double bass there. I use that right hand figure or pattern the whole time in this song. So it's thumb, index, thumb, thumb, middle, index, thumb. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Something that she heard, something that she heard. Of course, you can skip the double beat and simply play that 4 beats, that measure in G7. Like that. Instead of... Might be difficult, of course, when with singing, playing that double bass, but it's, well, it's something, let's say, of my own, then it's easy. Or very hard to hear, but you have that little stumble in there. And then we go on, measure 13. She thought when she left, I'd run around and cry, but a scrape on my door for you are better to goodbye, too long. And putting crepe on your door, took me a while to find that out, it means going to better places. It means goodbye. Goodbye, baby. Alright, so that was not too hard. And then we're starting in bar 18. Too long, you waited too long to come home. And in measure 20, we're doing that walking down to our A chord. It's 3 notes in 2 beats, so it might sound a bit off rhythm, but it really falls on its feet. And you can avoid that, of course, by, let's start with too long. You waited too long to come home. Simply, instead of going 3, 2, 1, you go 3, 2, and then to your A chord. So 1 3rd beat, 4th beat, and then to your A chord. And in the A chord, I'm doing exactly the same pattern as before. Thumb, index, thumb, thumb, middle, index, thumb. can change that like that. So don't be afraid to experiment with that, or maybe learn it first the easy way, and when you really have that in your fingers, you can start to fool around with it rhythmically. So too long, you waited too long to come home, and your daddy can't use you no more. So I'm sliding in bar 22 to the in the D7 and going down to the G with our again double bass pattern there, thumb, index, thumb, thumb, middle, index, thumb, and then we have a C7 turnaround with open G strings in between. C7, F, A flat, and C. And there's our thing again. So in the middle of the 25th measure I go to the G chord. Too long again, you don't belong here anymore. So stop, you're knocking on my door. And you notice that in the performance I also fool around with the rhythm there, especially when going to the D7. I really let that ring and play that, let's say, before. So in length it's the same, but the division of the beats is different. And again, you can do, you can simplify it. So let's start with measure 27. You don't belong here anymore. Stop, you're knocking on my door. Like that. Typical blind Blake lick. So I'll try to do it with rhythmic variations. You don't belong here anymore. So stop. Important thing is to move. I find it the hardest is to get that D, and you really have to put your mind to it. In your mind you have to move those fingers, and then the fingers will follow. Of course, you can adapt the speed of the whole song. If you listen to the Mississippi Sheiks version, that's, well, not slow, but medium slow. And Charlie McCoy version is really swinging, it's much faster. So we were knocking on my door. Da, da. You left me, sweet mama, for no good reason at all. Again, a lot of rhythmic variations on simple chords. Now you left me, sweet mama, pop, pop. Walking into our F chords, going from C. Left me, sweet mama, for no good reason at all. And now there's another you kicking in your stall. And that when we go to the A, we really have to hang in that 5th string 2nd fret there, measure 37. it's hard to do slow. You know, YouTube has a slow down function. If you have a computer, watching with a computer, it's in the right corner below. Use the cogwheel, click on it, and you will see the options. And if you're using a tablet or phone, it's in the top right corner. Click on the 3 dots and you will see the options of slowing down. And the pitch is kept, so that's important. So, let me, sweet mama, good reason at all. And now there's another you kicking in your stall. Too long, and now we're playing the bars 18 to 25. Too long, you waited too long to come home, and your daddy can't use you no more. And then we're playing bar 1 and 7 again, which is the beginning of the solo. And you notice maybe I try to play those treble notes a bit louder. And here again I did some variations in the right hand. Then going to the D7, G, and 7. So we start, and you hear me accenting the basses a lot of time. Like that. So get that boom pa pa feeling there. And then we're going on with bar 43. And again, bar 44 starts. Bar 43 is the replacement of bar 8, you could say. And then bar 44. So before that was pretty much the same as the introduction, except that when after the A7, bar 47, here we're going to play, well, normally we played 2 bars of D7, so we can replace that simple D7 chord to the C7 shape moved up by other D7s. And here's the first one. That's the Gary Davies C chord. There, that's what he always does. And we simply move that up. So if you go from a C7, you simply take your 2 outer fingers, the pinky and the ring finger, and place that on the 1st and the 3rd string and move it up. So bar 48, open, and then do a D minor 7, 7, 7, 5, 7, open again, and back to our D7, the Gary Davies, and then G, and another G, so let's start again with measure 48, and that's what I wanted to say. You hear, that's all very short, muted with the picking fingers. After I picked the open, so let that ring, and then up and down, and then going to our G, either a bar or a temp-rap chord. And then we change to another G7. That's your D7. Move to the 7th fret, and we're adding the index to the 5th and 4th string 5th fret. So you have a full G7 there. And I learned that from Larry Johnson. He uses that a lot. And if you want to check out my Larry Johnson stuff, you'll find it on my website. Very innovative player. when he recorded his, let's say, first album called Funky and Fast. After that he simplified his playing. He thought, well, the heck with it, all that difficult stuff, nobody's listening anyway, so he changed his style a bit, unfortunately, because he was really unique and original there on that Fast and Funky LP. The whole LP is on YouTube, so please do listen to it, and my versions of that, then you can see also what he's doing. Alright, so we were at bar 51, and in the middle of the measure we're going back to our, like that. Alright, let's play that whole line. So page 2, the second last line, bar 48, starting with bar 48. And it might be that I played during the transition the open D string, but that doesn't matter because it belongs to that G chords, to any G chords. And now we're going to a bar C7 on the 8th fret. That's bar measure, 52. And we're going from a C7 to a B9. Feel C9 moved up to the 8th fret. And I really wanted to that movement from one chord to another. So triplet, temp, middle, index, add the pinky to the 10th fret, and the hardest part is to move that second finger to the 8th fret, 6th string. You can stay, of course, and do that for that measure 53. Back to our C. Again that 10th fret, 5th string, and now we're going to play two kinds of A7. So it's that D7 moved up, and in the second beat I'm going to the Gary Davies at the 12th fret, 12, 10, 12, 11, just for a half beat, well, one beat maybe, like that, and then going back. So it's very fast, and if you can't do that, you can do that. Move your pinky one fret up. Then we have our long A chords on the 7th fret and the pinky to the 10th fret, so we have D. Going down with our G7, we've seen that before. I'll call it the Larry Johnson G7. And the temp wrap. Open and long A chord for at the 5th fret for the C. And then we have, when we're playing the song again from bars 18 to 24, and we've seen that before, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. And at the end tag, won't you know more? That's in bar 61. Slide to the 5th fret And we're going to 3 beats, a sort of tremolo, thumb, middle, index. And then and it doesn't make much sense to play slow. There you have it. Of course you can use another ends, and you can use, let's say, the positions. And use something different in the right hand. Something like that. All right, let's have fun with Too Long. No, I'm not going to make another joke about Too Long.